Hi there. This is a homily for the 11th Sunday in Ordinary Time. As you know, we had the Feast of the Body and Blood of Christ last Sunday, and this Sunday we start Ordinary Time. It's only ordinary in the sense that it's not a major feast, but in fact, the ordinary part is very misleading because we are trained to get a Christian worldview by the liturgies of ordinary time. So starting today, 11th Sunday, we have the reading from the prophet Ezekiel. So we're talking about 6th century. Ezekiel had a number of prophecies to do with the destruction of Jerusalem. And here it's one of the optimistic prophecies of the restoration of Jerusalem. And so here you have all plant imagery as God speaks through Ezekiel and explains that he is going to take one of the tender branches at the top of the cedar tree and make that grow and become a great cedar. Cedar obviously was a very impressive tree, a massive tree, and very much kind of a good image of where God was trying to go with this. But bear in mind, this is Ezekiel, so he knows that Israel has been playing around with foreign forces, and as a result, they're finally going to destroy Jerusalem. But this is an encouragement prophecy to help people to realize, yes, God is going to restore us, even though we have to put up with this right now. And that's the first message for us as we go through various kinds of destruction. And it can be personal, it can be betrayal, it can be all kinds of things. But God will keep working, and we need to have faith in that. The other thing is that all of God's work is mysterious, because he says at the bottom here, as the Lord has spoken, so will I do. He's got a process going in history. He is moving the whole world to its final conclusion. Whether we feel it, because feelings are always very misleading, whether we think it, because you've seen some of the crazy ideas that are circulating these days, we still are in the hands of God, and God is working out his salvation pretty much regardless of whether we cooperate or not. Now, with that, we have the responsorial psalm, basically to sing praise to your name. And the reason that this psalm was chosen is that it talks about being planted in the house of the Lord. That's the situation that we're actually in, whether it looks like it or not, with earthquakes and famines and epidemics and all kinds of civil violence and disgusting ways of speaking to each other and so on. All of this is really irrelevant, as painful as it is, because we are planted in the courts of our God. And we shall bear fruit even in old age. And basically, in the last sentence, in my God there is no wrong. In other words, God is working from an absolute sense of good. He doesn't make evil things happen. He allows us, through our willfulness and sinfulness, to generate all kinds of evil things. And we've seen an abundance of that over the last century and a half. But basically, the Lord is the rock, because he's working from complete, generous, absolute good. The second reading then goes, it's Paul's letter to the Corinthians, talking about the difficulty of being in this world and yet being so joined to God. And he basically says, we aspire to please him, whether we are at home or away. Our home, he says, is in heaven. But here, where we are right now, and we're stuck with this because we don't have a choice when we come into this world, and we don't have a choice when we're going to leave this world. So basically, we walk by faith, and he says, yet we are courageous. In other words, we're holding to a sensible way of life where we are so bonded to God. It doesn't matter what happens in the everyday life, we are going to be with God, or as the psalmist puts it, in the courts of the Lord. And then he talks about the fact that we will all appear before the judgment seat before we even get home, which is our home in heaven. And that judgment should also be part of our courage here in this world, that, yeah, we know we're bonded to God, but we also have to respond to what he's doing. We're not here just on our own account. We are owned by God, and he will ask for an accounting for that. Lastly, then, we have the gospel, and it's basically Jesus giving a set of parables, all of which are agricultural. The first one is about the seed that grows mysteriously. We don't know how it grows. And basically, this is a reminder to us that we are in this massive process of salvation. Whether we like it, understand it, appreciate it, whether we're angry with God, whatever, we are in this process of growth and transformation. Then he says, what other parable can we use? Well, he takes the mustard seed, smallest seed, and yet it grows into an enormous shrub, and birds from from the sky can dwell in its shade. And then lastly, the explanation, he taught in parables, and yet he explained these parables to the inner circle who he kept with him. So there's a wonderful message of courage here, but also a certain sense of awe that God is working. And we can, as I say, like it, understand it, appreciate it, not like it. It's happening. The train has already left the station. And with that, I wish you a good week.